Hi guys, and welcome to That Random Geeky Guy. My name is Ryan, and today I have the first part in a two-part video building a PC from all of the parts that you see in front of me. Now this video is, or should I say this PC, has been commissioned by somebody to be built. It has a massive white colour theme going throughout, which you'll see as the build kind of takes shape. But as a reason for that, the project, we're calling it the White Widow. So this is the White Widow Part 1, and in this I'm going to go through some of the components that are going into the PC and some early stages of the build. We are still waiting on 2 parts to arrive, which will be in Part 2. So the last 2 things that we're waiting to come, which have been ordered, is an RTX 3070, which is en route and should be here in about 2 days. And also the AIO, which is going to go top mounted into this, which is the NZXT Kraken Z63, so it's the 280mm AIO where the pump's got the screen on the front, which is all going to kind of fit into the theme. There are subtle elements of black throughout the theme, but the whole kind of major thing is white. So thank you very much, Say, for joining me for this video. Let's just quickly talk through what we've actually got. Let's get some of these bits out of the way and talk through some of the bits that we've got here on the table ready to go. So let's start with this case, and the reason I want to start with the case is I'm so unbelievably impressed with this, taking it out of the box. So for those of you that don't know what case this is, it's actually the new Corsair 4000X. So it's the X. It's the X variant. So it has the tempered glass panel on the front with the air intakes down the sides, and yeah, the whole kind of feel and look of this case is incredible. So at time of filming, this case was £110 in the UK, and just looking at this thing, feeling it, feeling the quality of the build, this is exceptionally good value. But obviously we're going to see a bit more of this as we kind of go through the build. Also on the table here, you've got two of Corsair's 140mm fans. This is going to replace the fans that come on the 280mm rad that goes up on top. So we aren't going to need this in Part 1, but they're here so you can see what's going on. Then we've got 4, so a pack of 3, and then a single of the 120mm light loop fans from Corsair. So that is going to replace the fans that come pre-installed on this particular case, which are essentially a similar kind of design without the light ring around the outside. But they are black cased, whereas these are white cased and fit with the theme better. So they're being swapped out, and then obviously you've got the rear exhaust fan as well. Hence why there is 4 of these things. And then we've got on the table in front of us here, which hopefully you can see on our B-roll shot, we have got an Asus ROG Strix B550A gaming motherboard. This has got, again, white accents. This board is beautiful and works really well with this processor. So going into this particular build, we have got one of AMD's 5000 series processors. It's a 5800X. Absolutely incredible single-core performance for a gaming machine, but we also keep an octa-core processor so that if you're going to do some more productivity-based stuff, this is a fantastic all-round processor and is going to work really well in this board, which is already 5000 series ready. So that's all that there. To complement what is a fantastic processor, we've got 2 16 gig kits of Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB RAM at 3600 megahertz. So we've got 32 gigabytes of 3600 megahertz RAM. Absolutely brilliant. So that's going to complement that really well. We've got some more RGB. Now the reason for all the RGB is, you know, to get maximum FPS, you've got to pour that RGB in. So we've got one of Corsair's Light Node Pro RGB kits here. This RGB kit comes with 4 LED strips, as well as their small node for controlling them as well. And I think that kind of finishes off the RGB elements, shall we say. We've got a white cable kit here, which is, this is paracord cable kit as opposed to the cheaper kind of like a plastic cable. This is actual paracord ones. It's quite a premium build. We've got a 80 plus gold 650 watt power supply from Seasonic, which obviously is going to then go into this cable kit. And then finally for storage, we've got a WD Black storage here for the OS. So this is the boot drive, so it's a 500 gig NVMe SSD, really good read and write speeds of over 3 gigabits per second. And then we've also got a WD Green 1 terabyte drive, which is going to be used for the main game storage. So some decent high quality storage alongside a fantastic processor and motherboard combo going in this beautiful case with some really good quality high-end fans, which are going to produce some really good aesthetics in terms of RGB. So let's get into doing the initial parts of the build. So let me get all this stuff cleared off the desk here. And what we'll then do is we will get a bit more of a look around this case, because I know you guys are dying to see it. And in my opinion, I think it's absolutely stunning, especially for the price that we're talking here. So here you go. We have got on the front, there is a completely seamless tempered glass panel. What I mean by seamless is it's not bolted in through this tempered glass. It is connected through thumb screws here at the back of the case. There's actually quite a lot of weight to this case as well. And, you know, if that's any indicator of the quality of it, then I think, you know, I'm quite pleasantly surprised by this for the price. Circling back around to the front, so you can see you've got those inbuilt 3 fans already, which will be coming out. And then you've got these large intakes all the way down the sides of this tempered glass panel for the airflow to come in. And then up on top, again, we'll probably switch to B-roll camera here. We've got the I/O on the front there. So you've got your USB-A 3.0 or 3.1, USB Type-C, as well as your reset power button. And I believe, let me just double check, yes, it's a combined audio port for headphone/microphone. On top, where the 280mm AIO is going to go, you've got this external fan filter with the this new kind of design that they're using, which is this kind of yellow Corsair logo. I actually really like it. I think it looks really good. In the basement, or behind the PSU shrouds, we've got space for 2 3.5-inch drives. Obviously, in this, we're not using any. But then on the rear of the motherboard tray, there's also space for 2 2.5-inch drives, which obviously we're going to be using one of those. Included with this case, let's take this tape off the top. In the back, there is actually a lighting controller already included. Now, whilst we are going to be using that for the fans, we'll obviously use a separate lighting controller for the LED strips. But like I said, there is already a built-in lighting controller because of those fans that are already integrated down the front. Let's get this popped open so you guys can see inside. There we go. Let's pop that down here. So yeah, straight away you've got right down there in the basement, like I'd already mentioned, you've got 2 3.5-inch drive bays there. And you've got the normal little kind of packet which comes with they're normally kind of your cable ties and some other bits and pieces that are in that. You'll also find quite a deep channel, well, 2 deep channels here, one for the 24-pin to come up, and then a deep channel for cable management here. Here's that lighting controller that I mentioned before. And I say, other than that, it just feels really, really well made. So yeah, I'm a fan of this case so far. Okay, let's pop this down to the side and let's get the motherboard up on here so we can start that process. So those who know, in my personal build, I'm actually using a Ryzen 5000 as well. And I am a big advocate of them because I think they are very, very good. Okay, so this particular board, a B550, it's one of the newer chipsets, specifically came out with the launch and release of the 5000 CPU generation. And to be perfectly honest with you, somebody asked me the question, kind of the difference between buying something like a B550 versus an X570. And actually, the B550 is so feature rich. The equivalent X570 of this one is like 60, 70 quid more, 60, 70 pounds more expensive. And it's really hard to justify that kind of extra spend. You know, a lot of people argue that the X570 has better supports for things like SLI and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, well, that's kind of dead now and kind of irrelevant. And yes, it might have more SATA connections, but we're going M.2, we're only using one SATA connection. And you kind of start to think, well, actually, is it even really worth the extra money? Because this is still PCIe Gen 4, like I say, full support with the 5000 series CPU. And actually, this is a really good looking board and fits very well within the design. So let's get this thing open so that we can have a look and kind of see what's going on in here. So this is kind of the showpiece. This is the bit that everybody's waiting to see. So I want to put that down to the side, grab the cables out so I've got them ready. And there we go, M.2 screw. I always find it weird that doesn't come with the M.2 drive. It comes with your motherboard, but let's get that out to make sure we've got it. Other than that, it's just a destruction manual, so we don't need that. Cool, there we go. So we will use the very, very best build tray there is, in that we're going to be using the box. So there we go, all set up here on the box, ready to go. So I hope that you will agree that is a beautiful, beautiful motherboard. Really, really nice. And in terms of this black and white theme, this is going to fit really well. Just so you're aware, the GPU that we're using with this one is one from Gigabyte. So it's a Gigabyte Vision 3070 OC, which I'm sure you'll agree is going to look absolutely stunning with this color setup. Really good and really fit well. So, okay, let's start by popping in kind of the sweet sauce. Let's pop in this Ryzen 7 5800X. Get this into the board so it's nice and safe in there. Yes, we're not putting the cooler on today, but it is going to be nice and safe in there. Now, for those of you who've not built a PC recently, I always find the boxes really weird for the CPU because it's a big box, and I understand from a retail perspective, it's all about how it kind of goes on the side, but anything above the 5600X doesn't come with an included cooler. So literally all you have in here is the chip. That's it. So when you take the chip out, it's obviously in its little protective carriage there. Let me just drop that down so you guys can see it here. It's in its little protective carriage, and then it's just got like a cardboard insert to fill out the space in the box. So there is like no space in there whatsoever. AMD could save a fortune on shipping by just putting it down into boxes this size, but I guess spending £440 on a processor and it's like this could probably feel a little bit shortchanged and doesn't look as good on a retail shelf. But yeah, there we go. And actually, they probably don't even have enough 5000 series processors to fill a container anyway. So there we go. Let's get the processor in here. For those of you who've not fitted an AMD processor before, it's going to be a fairly challenging thing to do, but let's just try and get this up onto camera here. Essentially, with an AMD processor, you've got the pins are on the bottom of the processor as opposed to in the sockets. You've got a bar here that you kind of push down, pull towards me and lift up, and that kind of releases the socket. Hopefully you can see that quite well. And then if I just grab the processor out, be very careful with those pins on the bottom. They aren't super delicate, but they aren't designed to be touched. So, you know, just be cautious, be careful. So there we go. One brand new 5800X. And then essentially when you're putting it into the socket, with the top edge of the socket here, that you hopefully can see on camera, the Ryzen lettering runs parallel to this. So let's just pop that into there, pop this bar down, and just like that, we fitted a CPU. So next up, we are going to work on the RAM. Let's get the RAM in next. Okay, so like I mentioned before, we have got this double RAM kit here of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro RAM in white. They're two 16 gig kits, so you got 32 gig of RAM, 3600 megahertz. Yeah, pretty awesome. So we're going to work on getting this now into the system. For those of you who haven't fitted RAM before, it's a real simple process. So let's get the first kit out to begin with. Now, the important thing when it comes to RAM is that if you're fitting it into a system like this that has 4 DIMM slots, but you're only using a twin RAM kit. I know we're using 4 here, but if you just kind of think about if you were just using 2, it's quite important that you put them into the right slots so you actually get dual channel memory. Now, most boards will have some form of print to indicate which are the 2 that you use, and actually this one does, but I say it will vary depending on what board you have. But traditionally, what normally would happen is you would start with the slot that's furthest away from the processor, which I know seems really strange, but just trust me. So you'd start with the slot that's furthest away. Along the bottom edge, you will have these little clips that come down, and then you'd start with this one, pop the RAM slot stick in like so, and push down on both sides. There's a little notch that you need to make sure that you get lined up in the middle. Now the second one, and this is where people sometimes make a mistake, they'll put the second one right next to this one. And that actually isn't going to give you dual channel. You actually have to skip one and then put it into the next one. So exactly the same again. Make sure the catch is undone here at the bottom, and then just slot it in like so, push down on both sides, and you'll get kind of a reassuring click as it goes in. And that's where you'd leave it. If you've only got 2 RAM sticks, that's putting them into dual channel. Now, the guy who this PC's for is lucky enough to be having actually 4 sticks of RAM. So like I say, we've got 2 kits here, and it's about making sure that this is as future-proof as possible. And also you've got the aesthetics of the fact that you've got a completed set of RAM. So same again, it's just this time we're filling in the gaps. So let me just pop these 2 in nice and quickly. Again, you're just making sure that the tabs are down at the bottom. The only thing I would recommend is if you are doing 4, I've only skipped it here just to give you guys a demonstration of what you would do if you only had 2. You might as well just do them in a row. It just makes it a bit easier to do it. But okay, that's 3 in. 1 more to go for that 32 gig of RAM goodness. There you go. And I say this is 3600 megahertz, which is a real sweet spot. Which is a real sweet spot for the Ryzen 5000 processor. So they're all in. Nice and simple. Let's get this rubbish out of the way. So far we've put in the CPU and the RAM. That's simple. And all of this stuff, I'm just going to pop to the side so it's out of the way and give ourselves a little bit more space. I think the next thing we're going to do is the M.2 slot. So I'm going to spin this round, and hopefully you guys can see it there. So underneath these metal plates are your M.2 sockets. We're going to be using the top one here because we've only got the one drive, which is an M.2. So let's just grab a screwdriver and we'll take this top plate off. Now, there's the market in terms of NVMe drives is accelerating really quickly. What I mean by that is that every single kind of 6 months, you're seeing more capacity and more speed coming available. So it's always to ensure you do your research before you choose which drive to buy, and obviously what that means in terms of budget and if that's going to work for you. So I say, with this particular build, we've gone with a WD Black, so it's from Western Digital, a WD Black drive, which is one of their fast NVMe drives, 500 gig. And I say this is the boot drive, so this is where Windows will go on, and you might also put some applications on there as well. And then you use the SATA SSD for your games libraries, so things like Steam, Epic Games, Origin, whatever that might look like. You use that as kind of mass storage. The good thing with this particular board is because it's got 2 M.2 slots, is you've got room for expansion in the future, and it's really easy to put one of these in. So let me show you how to do it. You'll notice when I was taking the bits and pieces out of the motherboard box, I was looking for the screw set for this, because like I said, weirdly, the mounting screws to put the M.2 drive in don't come with the M.2 drive, they come with the motherboard. I say weirdly, I guess it kind of makes sense a little bit because it's the motherboard that has the socket, but I don't know. I kind of think it's a screw. It might as well come with it, isn't it? You'll also notice on the bottom of this aluminium heatsink, is a thermal pad to transfer heat from this across to this heatsink. Do remember when you put this on to take this cover off here, otherwise you're kind of going to limit its performance. So that's worth doing. Okay, let's find the package with the little M.2 screws in. Now this actually comes with 2 in the box. So I will be sure to make sure that I put the final one, which we're not using today, I will put that down inside the motherboard box. So if the end user of this PC decides to do that very quick upgrade of putting another drive in, they can do so. So you get all different lengths of drives and things that slot into M.2. This particular one is going in here to the 3rd standoff, which is the furthest one. So we just need to screw in this little standoff here to bring it up level. Now, sometimes people forget to do that. Please don't forget to do that. It's quite important that you do. Otherwise, you're going to put stress on your drive as you overbend it and put it too far down. So we slot this in. It's keyed specifically for this. And then we just need to screw it in. Now, the only thing I will say is you'll notice that on top of this M.2 is a sticker. Now, a lot of people will say you should remove that sticker. Now, the thing is, on a lot of these, actually that sticker is metallic and they actually will transfer heat. Now, regardless, it's not going to make a huge difference. I would suggest just leaving it on. But obviously it's personal preference. It's what you prefer to do. But for me, I'm just going to leave that on, which is fine. The only thing I am going to do is remove this layer on the thermal pad that is on the bottom of this heatsink. Okay, let's make sure we get this the right way around. I think that's the right way around. Famous last words. Okay, and let's get this one screwed in. Oh, I'm miles off here. Give me a second. Problem is that if you do get it slightly off, the thermal pads are kind of slightly adhesive, so it's a bit of a pain. But let's get these in. Yeah, I'm nowhere near there, am I? There we go. And there we go. Now, the only thing I will say is also that some M.2 drives actually come with integrated heat spreaders. So do bear that in mind when you're planning your build in terms of how it kind of fits and sits within what we're doing here. I've just realised between cuts I've left my glasses off, which is probably why I can't see properly. Give me 2 seconds, I'm just going to go and grab my glasses. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so M.2 drive is in. We've put in the CPU, we've put in the RAM. Okay, so next, I think we should try and look at getting the case ready for this to go in. So let's just pop this off to the side. And now what I mean by getting the case ready, there's a couple of things really. One, I've got to take the fans out of the front because, as I mentioned, the inclusive fans on this we're not going to be using because of matching it up with the design that we're looking for. So yeah, I need to get the fans out of this, or at least trying to work out how to get the fans out of this. I was hoping that would drop off. There we go. So we take the tempered glass panel off the front, and I'm going to put that somewhere safe so that I don't knock it over. So let's put that down there. Then on the front, in front of the fans, we have, if you can just about see it, there is actually a mesh on here in terms of a filter, and that pulls out from the top to remove the filter to clean it. So that's really well designed. So again, we'll pop that to the side, and then I'm just going to unscrew the tempered glass side panel. Pop that off as well. There we go. Again, put this out the way so I don't break it. And we will get these fans out. So while I'm taking out these Corsair fans, what's your favourite fan brand? What do you look for from a fan? Is it purely about airflow? as in this case, are aesthetics important to you? Not just color, but you can get, especially with how popular RGB has become, you can get real differences between fans by having the light loops around the outside, some that are lit up from the hub, some that are lit up from the outside. What's important to you guys? And actually, before I go any further, I'm just going to undo these cable clips because the fan cables of the fans I'm just about to take out are all wrapped up in this. So it's going to be really awkward if I don't take them out now to take the fans out. So, okay, here we go. Cool. Now, Corsair Fans, they are famous for the fact that they have not only, I say they have a huge amount of cabling because they have 2 different cables coming off of each fan. That's because you have the fan controller cable itself, which goes onto the motherboard, but then you also have a separate RGB fan, and that's kind of Corsair's solution. They are known as the Cable Kings. They have a lot of cables in their builds, and it's why some of you out there might prefer other fans. So you might prefer things like, well, let's have a think of ones that are quite popular now. Who is it who's doing? Lee. They're doing the fans that clip together and they transfer power and signal between each fan. So then you only end up having one fan going to it. I think they're starting to be quite popular, so one to consider. But other than that, there's other solutions that are out there. Now, don't get me wrong, the Corsair setup, the fans that connect to each other, they're good, but they're costly. They are a very costly solution. And if you are on a very strict budget, it probably isn't going to be what I push you towards. In fact, actually, Jay's 2 cents, he recently did a video talking about kind of budget fan packs that you can get on like eBay and Amazon. So these budget fan packs, they are about £30, if that, £25. And I've used them multiple times before. If you go back on my videos and look at the budget builds, I've used those type of fan packs previously, and they're actually really good. I mean, some of them have more limited control over fan speed, which he kind of highlighted. What I mean by that is that it's not automatically controlled by the motherboard. You control it by one of these kind of universal RGB remotes. So it's a bit more user involved as opposed to just kind of leaving your system to it. But say it's a real cheap solution. You can get like a pack of 5 or 6 for like £25, £30. And if you're looking to do a budget build, it can be an absolute win. Right, let's get this bottom fan out and we can look at getting fitted in here the light loop fans. Okay. Now the challenge for me on this build is that I want to do the guy who it's for. I want to do him a really, really good job. He definitely deserves it. And I think we all had a challenging year last year, but his household had an exceptionally challenging year. I can't say why, it's not for me to say, but it's, you know, it makes me really want to get this right. And that includes things like the cable management. I want this to look really good. So it is a challenge with this Corsair stuff, but the thing is that it's going to give such a good look when it's finished. Let's open up a triple pack and start getting these fans back in the front. So whilst the Corsair fans can prove to be pricey at times, my advice to you would always be to explore the options like this of a triple pack. My reasons for suggesting that is that with these triple packs, you tend to get them at a better price. So for example, these Light Loop 120s are about £22, £23 each. No, I'm lying, sorry, they're more than that. They're about £28 each. Then you've got the controllers, so you've got the single 6 fan controller, which I know this case has got one, but if you're buying it without them in there, then you've got the lighting controller that controls the light loop around the outside, and everything all on top, you could end up spending, you know, in excess of £100. Whereas this kit comes together at, I think it was about 72, something like that. And that's obviously giving you the 3 fans and all the other bits and pieces that go with it. So yeah, that can be a no-brainer when it comes to getting this cost effective. Now, hopefully, this will show you as to why we're using different fans. Let's pop this down in front of this camera. So yeah, the white fan versus the black one, you can see the huge difference it's going to have on the build. Also, this white one has that light loop around the outside, whereas this does not. So yeah, it's about aesthetics, it's about how it looks, but I really don't blame them for wanting that, because they aren't planning to do another build for a very long time. This has got to last them a long time, and if they're going to invest the money in making it as high-end as possible, then why on earth shouldn't they have it looking exactly as they like? Okay. So, first fan in, get it screwed in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly get all of these screwed in, and we'll just speed up through this little bit. So let's get these done. So yeah, apologies, I got a bit carried away. the fans are in, but I also did the motherboard. So yeah, the motherboard's sat in here as well. There's a bit of a cable mess here at the back because that still needs to be managed. But if we fling that around, the motherboard is in as well. So left to do, we've got the PSU needs to go in at the bottom, which I'm going to be doing in part 2, along with the 2.5-inch drive, the AIO, which is en route, as well as the the GPU. Yeah, the GPU, that's quite important, isn't it? We better have put a GPU in it. But yeah, so they're all kind of en route as well. So that's kind of it. I'm going to stop it there for part 1. And I know I'm kind of doing teasing a little bit here, because come on guys, you've got to admit, this is already looking absolutely stunning. I'm kind of partially jealous, you know. My build is it kind of follows my theme of that random geeky guy. You know, I've got the blue and green going in terms of lighting, and it's a black case. And yeah, there's a couple of white accents in it, but nothing kind of major. So yeah, in a way, I'm a bit jealous because this is looking really clean. But let me know what you guys think so far. Comments below. Don't worry, part 2 is going to be released tomorrow. So part 2 isn't that far away, and we'll get the build kind of all finished off and looking neat and tidy, and get a couple of glam shots going on, that sort of thing. But like I said, guys, other than that, thank you very much for joining me for this short kind of part 1. So you can see kind of what's going on, and I'm surrounded by mess. But please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll know when part 2 lands. Other than that, if you haven't already, head on over to thatrandomgeekyguy.com, pick up one of these Founder Edition t-shirts. Significantly, did I just call it a Founder Edition t-shirt? That's really bad. The Founder Edition t-shirt's gone. This is our Stealth Traces t-shirt. So yeah, make sure you head on over to thatrandomgeekyguy.com, pick up one of the Stealth Traces t-shirts. Massively supports the channels. Thank you to those who also did buy a Founder Edition t-shirt as well. Thumbs up, love it. Let's say, bang that subscribe button, hit the bell so you know when part 2 is coming. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike it, thumbs down. Obviously, if you've got any questions at all about any of the parts that you've seen so far in this build, please ask it below. I always do my very best to answer any questions that there are. And there'll also be some Amazon Associate paid links down in the video description for all of the parts that you see here today. So if you decide to pick up some of this stuff, we get a little bit of a kickback as a little thank you, so I appreciate it. So please do use those links. Definitely check out this Corsair 4000X. This thing is stunning. But look, guys, thanks again. And until part 2, please take care.